Okay. Hi, a very good morning to all of you, and thank you for joining in for today's session. So, I'm going to address something called course management. And I would say the main reason why I've chosen this topic is because, there are definitely lots of ways we can improve our swings technically. But if we was just take a step back and say that there are ways for us to improve our game and lower the scores by just like managing the golf course better. And that is without you currently working on your swing. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't, please do. But there are other ways for you to also lower your score. So, there are a few questions that we must always ask ourselves. So, one is that, am I picking up the correct club for this shot? Which means that do I have to swing this club like 110%, to achieve that yardage? Or is it like a comfortable 90%? A hit or 80% hit zone that's going to give me that kind of yardage. Now, that makes it very important for us to know our yardages. I must be very crystal clear about what club goes how much. This is something that will benefit not just juniors, but club golfers as well. And, to some extent, even professionals. But I would say that this session, probably the club golfers and the juniors can take a whole lot out of it. Then the next part is, let's say, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, which means that what is my favorite shot, or what is my most reliable shot shape that I can play with. So for someone it could be like a fade, and for someone it would be a draw, but that is something that's a reliable shot shape for you. So you must be crystal clear about which shot shape works for you better. And then what is a shot that you just cannot hit, the one that you really really struggle with. So it could be something like a bunker shot. Now if bunkers are your problem area, then there are ways that you can manipulate or maneuver around the golf course. Try to stay away from the bunkers as much as possible, because if you go into the bunker, it might land up, with you dropping more than one shot or two shots. Now, this is the part which I find a little interesting. Is that we all see enough golf on television, and we all like playing the shots that we see. The PGA professionals play on the golf course. It means we all like seeing. We love seeing Tigers low stinger fade down. From in between the trees, or someone else hitting. They all these guys are amazing. They hit so many fantastic shots from trouble. Now, the question we must ask ourselves is, how much have I practiced to execute that shot? And the thing is that these guys, they do this for their livelihood, so they sort of practice these shots a lot of times. And if we haven't practiced a shot enough, what is the probability of us pulling it off when we're in that same position? So I'm just going to share. So my group of golfers that I play golf with, we've got two guys who are neither extreme. Right, so there's one guy who is a long hitter, and on a good day, he can outdrive mostly everybody in the group, and he can play a decent round of golf. But he's about, let's say, 14, 16 handicapper. The thing is that every time he's in trouble, he pulls off that particular shot. He tries to pull off that particular shot, the one that he sees on television all the time. And the thing is that that's extremely difficult for him to pull that shot off most of the times. So we know that he's going to be buying lunch at the end of that round, because, well, he pulls off maybe 1 out of 10 holes that he's in trouble. There's another gentleman in our group who's on the other extreme, who's an extremely short hitter. He literally hits it hardly anywhere. But he's so consistent and he plays to his strengths. And his strengths are that he hits it nowhere, but he can be fairly consistent. He's another gentleman whose bunker is a problem area. So he literally stays away from the bunkers. I've seen him go on maybe 10 rounds of golf just keeping himself out of the bunker. So he just plays to his strengths, and his strengths is like he's a good putter. So he plays to his strengths. He tries to get the ball on the green, in the least number of shots. And sometimes he can get one putt or two putts and he sort of walks away. So the question is like, you must assess what your risk versus reward angle is. If the risk factor is extremely high and the reward is really not as much, you might not want to pull that off. So let's say that you're stuck in the tree somewhere, on a particular hole. Let's say it's a par four, and you have that one tiny space, where you can sort of hit the ball from. like I said, if you haven't practiced it enough, chances of you being able to successfully execute it is not as high. So if that round means a lot to you, if you're playing a tournament round, that's not the most reliable shot that you might want to go to. So alternately, let's say you were to just sort of hit it out back onto the fairway somewhere, and you're three on the green on a par four, you still have a pretty good chance of walking away at worst case scenario with a bogey. And if you hit it close enough on your third shot, you might still have a par, or you hit an awesome putt, you still might have a par. So that's one way to sort of lower your score overall. Try to stay away from the double bogeys and the triple bogeys as much as you can, and that will probably help you drop a few shots, per round of golf. So another thought is that I've seen a lot of people's, and I've asked this to a lot of my students also. When let's say there's a hole where there's water on one side and could be like a tree line on the other side. What's the one thing that we start telling ourselves? Don't hit the water. Whatever you do, don't hit the water. But the truth is, well, no one really wants to hit the water. But the more you think about the water, actually, the more it's in play for you. So it's really important to zone in on where you want to hit, and sort of focus on that a lot more. And I know this is a lot more about to do with technical stuff, or sorry, it's got to do with the mental stuff. But I mean, just upfront, like if you're aiming for something, you must see where you want to aim. So I mean, if you want to hit the fairway, it's really really important for you to keep looking at the fairway, so that chances of you hitting that is much higher than looking at the water and saying that I don't want to go there. So I'm going to move on, and I've drawn a few diagrams, and I apologize, but this is the best that I could do. So this is a bit of a diagram where we're looking at a par four. So give or take, it's about 400 yards. This is a team of ground over here. Now, if we see how most golf courses are designed, that it like gets a little narrow, then it gets wide, and we call this like a landing zone, all right? And then it gets narrow again, and then it starts getting wider again, all right? So this is a water hazard, and this is like a fairway bunker. So usually where it gets starts getting narrow is also where there's some sort of obstacles on the golf course. So if we see over here, this is where it's wide, and this is at about 250 yards. And over here, again, where it gets wide, it's about 280 yards. Now, if you're stuck in a yardage, or rather, let's say you hit your driver shot somewhere between 250 and 280 yards, well, if you think about it, you're kind of trying to hit it into the narrowest zone that is out there. Now, that means your chances of error it's really, really, really low. That means that slight mishit could potentially get you into trouble either way. Now, if you see that it's a 400-yard par 4, that means if I'm somewhere around the 240, 250 yard zone, I'm still have a pretty good chance of, sort of going onto the green. Alternately, if I'm extremely confident that I can fly this 280 yards plus, then again, I'm in a wide zone, which again doesn't really have trouble. So, I mean, even if I slightly miss the fairways on either side, I'm not going to be in trouble. I'm going to at best be, let's say, the first cut or slight rough. But the ball's definitely in play. This is the zone where we don't want to go. We don't want to go into the water hazard because it is going to, cost us at least one shot. So that's something for you to think about. Before you pick up your driver on every par four, give it a thought. Or on a par five, just give it a thought. Ask yourself, what am I going to really benefit by hitting my driver? Is it something? Can I hit a different club? Can I hit an alternate club? If my driver is potentially in this, narrow danger zone. I'm going to move on to a couple of more diagrams. I'm happy to take on some questions really soon, but just allow me to finish, some of the things that I wanted to discuss. Now, this is like a par five, and this par five, this is the teeing off ground. So this is something like a bit of a dog leg. Now, there is a landing zone here, which is 220 yards, all right? And then we have a tree line over here. And then we've got another landing zone here at 280 yards. Now, again, the question is, well, it's a par five. I'm very happy to be three on the green as well. So if I'm not, let's say, having the best day and I'm not being able to hit it, let's assume that I can hit 280 yards, but I'm not having the best day on the golf course today. And, I am being a little wayward with my tee shots. This is another part. Do I really want to take this risk, or because also remember that the longer the club, the spray is more, which means that potentially I can consider hitting it into this 220-yard zone, hitting another club and sort of approaching the green somewhere here. So that is food for thought for you. Now I'm going to move into another zone. So let's say this is a fairway, okay, and again a tight it's got some obstacles on either side. Let's say there's water on one side, and there this side we have an OB line. Now the fairway is about 40 yards wide, which is quite enough, right? Now, how do you approach a fairway like this? So I would say the first and foremost thing is, like I said, let's say you're very sure that this is going to be where you want to hit your shot. You know this landing zone is fine for you, and if you made that, now depending on the shot shape that you have, let's say you're a draw player, that means the ball's going to move a little bit. Yeah, you're going to move a little bit from this side and come back. So we split the fairway into half, all right, and I would pick up a zone just slightly right of this line, and I would sort of try to start my ball from here and allow it to sort of draw in, and it'll hopefully be somewhere around the center of the fairway. Now, if I let's assume that I miss it slightly, which means that my miss could be that it goes straight up, so there's no curvature on the ball that I usually have, which is a draw player. I'm still fine. I'm in this zone. If let's say I overdraw it, I'm still fine. I'm in this zone. I'm just left off the fairway. Uh, Alternately, let's say I do push it a little bit. I should be okay. I should still be just on the right side of this fairway. I should be still safe from that OB line. So this is a way to sort of approach it. And similarly, for somebody who's a fade player, would sort of want to start their ball just left of this and allow that ball to sort of come in. And the same sort of holds true for him, that if he sort of overdoes it, it'll be here. But it's straight. There's no curvature. He'll be in this zone, and if he slightly over, it goes the other way, slightly draws, like there's something called a double cross, he should be still somewhere in this zone. So still hopefully away from trouble. So the idea is that you must plan your shots well, and you must know what your stop shot is. So what is that shot shape that really, really works for you all the time? One that you usually play. Now, if I move on, I'm going to talk about, let's say, how to approach the green. So this is like one of the first greens that I've drawn. And this is, let's say this green is about 35 yards in depth. And we got a bunker over here, and the green sort of, shaped a little this way. This is 15 yards in. That means this section, this one from here to here, is about 20 yards in depth. So let's ask ourselves, this is number one pin position. How would we approach this? So the first and foremost thing would be, what kind of club do I have in my hand? Which means, do I have a short iron in? Let's say anything between a pitching wedge to an 8-iron. Or do I have like maybe a 6-iron or 5-iron? Or do I have maybe a hybrid to approach this green? Now, if I have, let's say, a short club, because again, with a short club, the chances of dispersion are less. So that would mean that I can sort of, let's say, be aggressive and try to attack the spin position. Let's say I have something which is in between. Now I might want to move a little forward in this zone. So just giving it a number, let's say this spin position is 7 yards in and about 6 yards from the right. All right. So I might want to play, let's say, not just for the 7, because in the 7 zone, this is fairly narrow. I might want to move up 5 yards and sort of get a slightly wider zone. That means now if I miss hit my shot, my spray margin and my error margin is not too bad. That means I'll still be somewhere on the green, and I still have a pretty good chance of looking at a good 2-putt, if not 1-putt. Now, let's say again, if I was, so that's as far as this is concerned. So let's move into the next pin position. So let's say pin position number 2, which is a spin which is again tucked in towards the right side. So let's say this is about 27 yards in, all right, and say 5 yards from the right. So I mean it's tight over here on this right side. Now, if we see this, let's say I'm a draw player. So then what would I how would I like to approach the spin position? So I would want to definitely not start the ball anywhere right of this. I would like to start it on this, let it draw back a little bit. So if it draws back, I'm absolutely fine. I'm just left with the hole. If let's say it doesn't draw at all, it stays straight, is right on the flag, and if it fades just a little bit, I should be fine. Again, just remember the first thing I said was you want to first know what kind of club you're hitting. If you're hitting a hybrid, you might want to change that line from here to maybe a little more this side to try to keep yourself more out of trouble, because your spray can be a little more, get magnified. Now, if I was a fade player, I would kind of do the same thing. I would aim, probably slightly left of this flag. I want to start the ball here, let it fade back. If it doesn't fade, it's fine. I'm just left of the hole. If it does what I expected it to do, I should be fine. I'd be on the spin position. If it overfades also, I should be still fine. I'll just be right of the hole and still have a good putt to look at. Now the tricky part is this spin position, the number three. Now, like I said, that if it's this green is about 35 yards deep, and this is at 15, that means it leaves us only with 20 yards to sort of play with, and that's fairly tight. Now, if I have a club that I know for sure, no matter what, is going to be able to clear this zone, because that ensures that I keep the bunker out of play, then I'm good. But if I'm questionable about this flying, this zone, then I might want to rethink if I want to be playing this zone at all. I might want to alternately look at playing completely a different zone. I might only want to play somewhere here. And that brings me to my next diagram, um, which is that just another sort of a green is that ideally what you should do is whenever you're approaching green, you should look at having split the green into like 4 quadrants. So you split it like this into 4 quadrants, and depending on where the pin position is, you need to ask yourself, which quadrant do I want to be? Do I want to be below this? So do I want to be on the bottom part of this? Do I want to be on the higher part of this? Or do I want to be this side or this side? And sort of narrow in on this zone. This is something that I like to, talk to about a lot of my students, is that I call this like the bullseye zone. So this is the center part of the green. This is the fattest part of the green. And this is usually, it's a pretty safe spot, because if you think about it, no matter where the pin position is, you are in, the fattest part or the meatiest part of that green. And, chances are you'll get away with mostly anything from here, unless you really hit a really really wayward shot for you to be off the green, if your target zone is here, if it's in the bullseye zone. All right. Okay, talking about another couple of factors. So this is another green that I drew. So if you see, pretty similar, like this is again 35 yards deep. We got this here again at 20 yards, so this again something is 15. Now this is called a contouring over here, and a lot of the greens that we play also have contouring. So now this is got contouring, this is like a downhill. Now, if my ball lands over here, it's going to get like a huge bounce. It's going to get a skip forward, and I might not be able to control it onto the green. So now the real question is, well, what what are the some of the conditions that I must assess are, what are the green conditions? Is it playing hard or soft? So if it's playing hard, it's going to get more difficult for me to stop it. If it's playing soft, I can still get away with it. There's going to be less roll once the ball lands. What is the wind direction? So if there's headwind, and this is a trackman stat or a fact that they put across, that headwind hurts more than tailwind helps. Then, well, for a green like this, I might want to play in like headwind, because it'll ensure that the ball lands sooner and steeper, and it'll have less roll for sure. Now, if it's tailwind, again, like I said, it does help less, but it is another condition for me to cater for. So if it's tailwind and it's a hard green, I still might not want to attack this zone. Alternately, another factor for you to consider is, let's say if it's side wind. So let's assume if this is a pin position and the wind is coming from the right side, and if I'm a draw player, now, depending on how far away the pin position is from this side, I might not want to necessarily start the ball here, because let's assume that I hit something of a shot where the wind doesn't manage to bring the ball back, I can potentially be again in danger zone. That means I could be in the rough, and I'm not giving myself a birdie attempt. So I might want to aim the ball just right of the hole, cater for that wind to bring it in a bit. So if it does, as I land the shot and it comes in, I'm fine, I'm sorted, I'm on the pin. If it doesn't come in enough, I'm still okay, I'm right here. If it overdoes it, I'm still all right that I'm right here. So these are factors that you do want to consider, when you're hitting an approach shot to the green. They're definitely important. The other part that I wanted to talk about was, let's say, club selection. So depending on the kind of green and of course the kind of yardage that I have, if I'm playing a shorter iron, or let's say mid iron or short iron, or even, yeah, I would want to be able to successfully attack the zone. But if, let's say, I had a 5 wood or a 3 wood or something to for this, again, I might want to reconsider this. This side is pretty big, it's pretty safe, there's nothing here. The bunker is only, it's all protecting this side, it's only protecting this quadrant. So we see that this side is all clear. So this is a good space for me to also approach, even though the pin position is here, that it'll keep me out of trouble all the time. So it all depends on, it's something that you need to assess every time when you are approaching a green or approaching a tee. It will definitely help you shave off, like, quite a few shots for sure. I can promise you that. So yeah, I'm sort of open to questions if we have any already. We have Tween and Sia.
Yeah, so we have a few questions. I'll go ahead with the first one.
Yeah.
How to make proper notes on the golf course during the practice round?
So if you have, let's say, let's talk about a particular hole, okay? So if you go back to this diagram, saying that this is your hole, this is a par 4, all right? And let's assume potentially if you have a Bushnell, if you don't, you can always find another medium to sort of help yourself. A lot of golf courses have they have these stroke savers that can help you also understand how the course is designed. So you stand over here on your tee box and you can check how far is this bunker. All right. So in your notes, you just sort of write, you say, okay, this is at, let's say, 255 yards. So you'll make a note saying, okay, this bunker is at 255 yards. All right. Now you're aware of exactly what yardage this is. Now you, let's say, also know that this water hazard is, let's say, approximately, give or take, also somewhere close to 255 yards. Now you would ensure that you earmark that this is your hitting zone. All right, so you have a yardage in mind, which means that you're trying to hit it about anything 240 to 45 yards, that keeps you, or to up to 250 yards, that keeps you like in the safe zone. So you're going to turn around and pick up a club every day that's giving you that yardage. Now assume that the wind changes on a particular day, you are still trying to hit it for this yardage. So you're going to pick up that club that gives you about 240 to 250 yards and puts you in this zone. Now, from here, you have a green to approach. You sort of just draw like the green design. You earmark where the bunkers are, all right, and you see where trouble is. And then you must be aware of how deep the green is. So, how deep is it? How wide is it? So that depending on the pin positions, you're exactly aware of where you want to, which side you want to be. Plus, you can draw out slopes, like I did in that one where you draw up slopes, so you're aware again of where exactly the slopes is. Once you have all the information, chances are you'll make a far more intelligent decision than just picking up a club because you see the flag over there. You don't need to necessarily attack each flag all the time, even in a round or even in a day. Sometimes, like I said, you might want to just move away from the flag, put yourself in a spot. So if I gave you like a 10-foot birdie putt in any direction, it wouldn't matter. You take it. So you want to be able to plan the shot better. And this is how you make your notes. You need to know what your carry distances are. First and foremost, you must know what your yardages are. And then, of course, you need to know what the course sort of needs to look like to plan it out. I hope that answers your question.
All right. The next question. When is it a good idea to play aggressive and when it is not?
Um, so first and foremost, a good idea for you to play aggressive is when, let's say you started off the day strong and you are in a good place, you're pretty confident about your ball striking. You hit a few good shots, then that's a good time for you to sort of also start playing aggressive. And like I said, also depends on your shot shape. If does that pin position allow you to play aggressive, or does that pin position is not something that permits you to play aggressive. So what you want to do is you always want to play the higher probability shot, which means a shot that even on a miss it will ensure that you're not in trouble. You get away with it. And like I said, on a day that you're feeling good about it, you've gone 3-4 holes in, hole number 4, and you're feeling calm, you're feeling good about your game. You can start playing a little aggressive.
Alright, the next question. How to read a double break on the green for putting?
Well, it depends on a few factors. One is the slope. Then, if you're playing a golf course where grain is a factor to play, you want to see which way the grain is also moving. So, I would say again, break it up. Don't look at the whole putt throughout. So, let's say it's a 20 foot or 25 footer. You want to first pick up the first section. You see, okay, is the slope coming from this way? So you'll say, okay, fine, it's coming from this way. So you see that you ensure that you're very crystal clear whether there's grain and slope or just grain, or sorry, just slope and not so much grain. And accordingly, then you look at the next section and then you see, which way the ball is going to come in that section. And remember, when it's faster, there's less break. So the initial part is going to have less effect on the ball than the latter part will. So you'll accordingly have to say. I would say green reading. I mean, there are versions. There is something called what do they call it? There's something called aim point that a lot of players use. I'm definitely a field player. I don't say that it's not. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. I haven't done it yet, but I have seen a lot of players, including a friend of mine who plays on tour, who's benefited a lot from it. So there are other mediums that you can also use to train yourself to understanding how to read greens better. I'm a little old school in that I sort of go with just the feel in the eyes personally.
Alright, the next question. How to make proper stats after the round?
Uh, okay, that's an awesome question. So I would say, I wish I could show you. I have like a little table that I make, that I send it to all my players, and I can share that with you. But in that table, you basically break it up. You can write. I can just draw it out for you right now. So see, you break it up and you write the number of fairways. So this is what I have my students do. I'm just going to give you a for example. Okay, so they have to write fairway, greens in regulation. They have to write sand save, chip, putt, and ideally I want to know the pin position also. So this is what they do. So let's say let's just say that there's hole number 1. Okay, so on hole number 1, let's say they have. Let's talk about, if you made it, you just put a tick on it. It's just as simple as that. If you've not hit the fairway, then I want to know if you missed it right or left. So let's say if they missed the fairway and they missed it right, I asked them to just write like an R on it. All right. Now in greens in regulation, again, so if they made it, awesome, they can just write a tick. If they missed it, I'm going to ask them whether they missed it right, left, or short. So assuming if they missed it short, they're just going to write like an S on it. All right. So now if they hit it short, they could be short in the sand, they could be short on the, let's say they have a chip to play. So now I want them to, and it's just give or take. It's just like a rough estimate. So let's say they have a chip which is, let's say, about, I don't know, let's say it's about 10 yard chip that they have. So they're just going to write like a 10 over there, and then I want them to write the number of putts that they have. So let's say they've had one putt, and let's say it was from 6 feet. They're just going to write 1 and they're going to write 6. And let's say it was like 2 putts from 6 feet, they're just going to write 2 and they're going to put 6 again. Uh, I want the pin position, so either you can write the pin sheet on the whole table, or you can just take, or a lot of my students just take a picture of the pin position sheet and they send it out to me, and then I just upload their stats, and then that's it. that's what I do. So I keep that. What it does is that eventually you realize that you start seeing patterns within, and fairly soon you start seeing patterns. It helps the coach for sure. It definitely also helps the student once you realize that okay, if you're most of the pin positions are on the right, if you started missing the ball on the right, it means you're not approaching the green properly. And it happened with me for one of my students who plays professional, and it's exactly what we did. He finished his round. He was just, I kept seeing it on occasion. He was dropping off like a few shots. It didn't really make sense. So we kind of went through his stats and figured out that there were certain pin positions that he was continuously struggling with because his assessment of that pin position was wrong. He was approaching that whole pin position incorrectly. As soon as it was tucked in on the right, he was struggling with that because he's a draw player. So if there's a pin position, I can show you that. Show you a diagram. So so let's assume like this number two. So he's a draw player. So he should actually sort of start so far out, and just in case it didn't draw in, he used to sort of miss the green and he could be in trouble. He was just approaching it incorrectly. So we got him to change his aiming from here to being closer to the pin, and all of a sudden he started making a lot more greens in regulations.
All right. Moving on to the next question. How to calculate roll when you are hitting for the green?
Like I said, first and foremost, you must be aware of what your yardages are, and which also means like you should know that how much you fly and approximately how much it rolls. Uh, I'm not sure there's actually a formula for us to calculate exactly how much roll because it will vary from player to player. But if you have a hard green, the chances are the ball is going to roll more. If you have a soft green, the chances are the ball is going to roll less. So that's something you need to, if you're playing, let's say, in a home course, you would already have a bit of an idea. But if you're playing a tournament, the practice round is there for you to also assess what the course conditions are. And let's say it's on a particular day that it's rained the night before, then the course is going to soften up, so it is going to be less roll on it.
All right. The next question. How to check the intensity of the wind on the course?
uh, well, so a lot of players actually what they do is that they check what the weather forecast is in that area, and it does give you that. So they check not just they check lots of factors. So humidity, what's the wind direction, approximately how much is the wind moving. If you actually just open up like Google Weather, or you open up AccuWeather or Weather Channel or something, they actually give you an hour by hour wind, what the wind is like, whether it changes direction or whether usually winds don't really change direction by and large. So, but it definitely gives you like the intensity of it. So if it goes up or it goes down, and that is something that pro golfers do use when most pro golfers will check the weather in the morning before they move to the golf course.
All right. Ma'am, we don't have any more questions as of now. So if you want to
Okay.
continue with something, you can.
Uh, I don't actually have a whole lot more to cover. I think I sort of covered most of what I wanted to say. I mean, I'm going to again say the same thing. I said the same thing in my last session. The idea is you can make golf as complicated as you want to make it. You can try to start simplifying it. It's supposed to be complicated, or let's say the theory part of it, a lot of the jargon and all is more for the golf coaches. For the pro golfers, it's more for the
Uh, Ma'am, you are not audible. Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Ma'am, are we audible?
Okay, I think ma'am got disconnected. Let's wait for a minute. She'll be joining back soon.
Ma'am,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah. So I'm going to say that, as a player, when I go on the golf course, I have, if I try to take everything that I know for the golf swing to the golf course, it's not going to work out. It's extremely important to keep it as simple as you can on the golf course. There's a time and place to sort of, look at swing positions and, you know, tactics and all of that. And that's not when you're playing. And I can't, I would say that even as, through my journey as a pro golfer, which was, for a few years, I think my biggest struggle was that I tried to take too much with me on the golf course, and that didn't help my cause. It didn't help me on the golf course at all. It was just a lot of clutter, and it didn't help me sort of execute, my true potential on the golf course during a tournament. So I would again and again try to stress upon the fact, try to keep it simple. It's very easy to go, really far and get it too cluttered in your head. You don't want to do that.
Ma'am, we have few questions that came in right now. How many practice rounds are advisable before a tournament?
So let's say it's a new golf course for you. I would say maybe 2 rounds or so should do the trick. But if it's a golf course that you played on for enough years, I don't think there's more than one practice round that's required. Let's say you're playing on tour and you played that golf course, let's say what, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in the past. You do know how the golf course plays out. So unless there's some changes on the golf course or something, but again, most of the things it can be taken care of. I would say about 2.5 rounds is more than enough if it's a brand new golf course for you.
Uh, Ma'am, the next question.
Yeah.
If I hit 120 carry with 7 iron and the flag is in the front side of the green, just 7 yards inside, I have almost roll of 7 to 8 yards. Then what is the best option to play?
So and the flag is in the front means that 120 yards is for the flag.
Uh,
I would guess so.
120,
Let's
120
go
carry
back.
with 7 iron.
So okay, let's say you hit a 7 iron 120 yards, and your ball rolls about 7-8 yards, and let's say you have a green like this. Okay, so we go back to the first. This is where, because you said it's the front on pin position. So my question would be that if this is a good place to be. Alternately, if let's say you're comfortable with bunker play, you're fine. It doesn't really matter because even if you miss the green slightly, you're still all right. But if you're not comfortable with bunker play, you're more comfortable, let's say, with chipping. So we're catering for your misses. If you hit a great shot, well, you're fine. You're going to be, putting for birdie. The question is that if you have a miss hit, what is it? And where it would be. So if let's say your ball rolls over 7-8 yards, I would say you could even consider playing for this zone, because it is a little wider here. You have more room. You allow the ball to roll up. Alternately, again, if you're very confident that you can fly it considerably, very accurate with that on that 120 yards with 7-9. You can sort of play for somewhere here, allow the ball to roll a few yards, it's fine. You still have a pretty good look at birdie. So a lot of it would, like I said, you must know what your strengths are and you must know what your weaknesses are. If bunker plays your weakness, you might want to actually, pitch it somewhere here so you kept the bunkers out of play completely. Even if it rolls up here, well, you still have a pretty good look at, at a two-part or a one-part. So, like I said, you must know your strengths and weaknesses. I think that's key, and that's something we all should ask ourselves.
Okay. All right. The next question, ma'am. What does one need to do to break 80?
I would say practice for sure. Maybe consider hiring a coach that can help you identify some of your weak zones. Short game, I think, is key. I don't think enough people spend enough time on it. So maybe if you just sort of look at sharpening your short game up a little bit, maybe just get a little better at chipping and bunker and putting. It might help you shave off some shots potentially. But yeah, I mean, I would say just go to a senior coach in your area and see if that coach can sort of help you identify what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, and maybe help you work on something one of those. Also, course management. It should help you.
All right. Ma'am, if coring is done for the rain, what are the tricks for coring? I mean,
Well, hopefully your golf course is giving you preferred lie, which means that you can actually pick the ball up from the scoring zone and put it down. So you should be okay. And if they're not, maybe you can ask them why they're not giving you preferred lie during that time.
all right. Ma'am, the next question. For a higher handicap player, what does course management entail? Normally, people advise more defensive. What is your take on it?
Uh, I would say it's not about you can call it playing defensive, or you could just turn around and say, like I said, it's about currently if my game is a certain place, then I have, no matter who it is, whether high handicap or low handicap, you still have some strengths and weaknesses. You know, with a higher handicap, what happens is that your chances of error gets magnified. So let's talk about a pro. Okay, for a pro, miss hit could be something like maybe 1 or 2 degrees off, which is not a whole lot of spray. All right, but for a higher handicap, their miss hit is can be big. So that means that if your miss hit is, let's say, 25 yards with the driver, then it does make you consider. So yes, you do want to play relatively more defensive, and I would not call it defensive. I would say, let's try to call it like the more probable shot. So something that gives you a higher probability of execution is what you would want to play for, versus something that gives you like very very low, like let's call it like the stock market. You don't want to go somewhere where the chances of you is 90%. You can sort of lose that money, versus 10% is you might make that money, versus you'd rather have the odds where 70% chances are you're going to make some money, and maybe 30% chances are you might lose. So you'd always want to go for that. So that would be my advice. They try to play the more probable shot, and that could mean defensive. But again, the idea is not call it defensive. I would rather call it more probable.
The next question, ma'am. How to increase the number of fairways during a round on a windy day?
Um, so to a large extent, like what we spoke about, is one that you must be clear about your short shape, the one that you can rely on. And if the idea is only to sort of hit more fairways, then you want to understand how much factor that wind is playing in moving your ball. So let's say you're on one particular fairway, let's say you're a fade player, okay? On one particular fairway, you're going down and the wind's coming from the left, and your ball moves in this way. You might want to cater for a little more left. And I would say this holds more true for, let's say, club golfers when I'm speaking right now. You might want to aim slightly more left and trying to counter it because, well, that's not a comfortable shot shape for you. And you sort of allow that ball to sort of come back with the wind. Alternately, on the next hole, see coming down the other side, you just want to cater for it so that your ball flight is sort of countering it, and you play it accordingly. You just want to cater for, okay, how much can this wind move my ball, and align yourself accordingly. Then trying to fight it.
Ma'am, moving on to the next question. How much does a 10 kmph wind will affect the ball flight?
Okay, I will have to go through my notes for that because I do have it written down somewhere about exactly how much it does. So, wind. I'm sorry, I don't actually have that in my notes right now, but I'm happy to sort of get back to you with how much it could affect. Yeah, I don't actually have that exact stat with me right now, but I'm happy to I'm happy to sort of get back to you on that. But I would say that headwind actually plays a bigger role than tailwind does. So if you have a shot where you're playing into headwind, you want to cater for that more than if you're actually playing tailwind. So let's assume that a wind intensity amount would, let's say, hurt your ball in headwind, let's say for 10 yards. That same intensity is not going to give you 10 yards if you're hitting with the wind. It's going to give you much less than that. So that's something for you to think about as well.
Oh, all right, ma'am. The next question. I am a 11 handicapper with a draw game.
Mhm.
During my downswing, I sometimes have a tendency of thrusting my hips forward towards the ball. How can I correct this and why does this happen?
So I don't know if this person was there in my last session, but I would say that, you might have, it could be X number of reasons, but it could easily be just something is, let's say, you're having maybe some mobility issue in your hips. You might have like tight hip flexors, or you don't really understand how to activate your glutes in the downswing, or maybe, yeah. So I mean, there are lots of ways, there are lots of reasons why it could be. I'm happy to have a look at your swings. If you want to reach out to me, you want to send me your golf swing, we can always get into a call and try to figure out, identify some things, if you're not from my area. But it's difficult to tell you exactly what it is. The symptom is, of course, if you're early extending, but why you're early extending is not something I can just tell you, without even seeing you swing once. So that is something I would need to see before I can tell you.
How can we avoid high scores on a few holes?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
How can we avoid high scores on a few holes?
Just like plan it better. I would say that, most often than not, we try to play the hero shot. Try to play that what we call the tiger line, or the tiger shot. Just try to play within your means. It's like if I can't hit the driver 300 yards, why am I even trying to stand on that ball trying to hit 300 yards? Chances are I'm going to lose balance. I'm going to try to moving all over because I'm trying to create more speed and more power than what I potentially can. So just approach that hole differently. I would say that, if you're consistently, you've seen that on that particular hole you mess up, maybe you need to start figuring out where's your landing zone. Am I actually hitting it into a zone which is very narrow? If it's, let's say, a power four that I cannot be two on in, let's say I don't have the distance to be two on in, then I don't need to be two on. I just play for being three on and make peace with it. If I am three on and I have, one putt, I'm still making par. If I'm three on and make two putts, I'm worst case scenario making bogey. I'm not. You don't want to magnify the problem for yourself. Try to keep it simple. Ensure that you're not you're being your friend on the golf course. You must try to be your friend all the time. You don't want to be your enemy. So don't take decisions where you can potentially lose all your money in, versus you potentially can have like a 70-30% chance of you making some money. You'd always want to take those odds.
Ma'am, can you please explain the dissecting of the fairway topic once again?
Sure. So you've taken a fairway like this, all right? So let's say it's about, give or take, it's about 40 yards wide. So you want to split the fairway into half, and then identify which kind of, once you know which kind of player you are, you're a draw player or fade player. So let's I'm a draw player. So for me, when I split the fairway, I'll always start slightly right of this line, and I would allow the ball to sort of turn back in. Now for me, my miss is usually that it doesn't draw back enough. So that means I'm still going to be in this zone, which means that I'm still okay. I'm just on the right side of the fairway. If, let's say, I overcook it, or like I overturn it. So instead of being on the center of the fairway, I've come onto the left side of the fairway. I'm still fine. I'm still in the fairway. So the idea is to ensure that your ball's in play. You want to ensure that your ball is in play all the time. And my focus, what I was trying to say before, also like my focus should be in the fairway. I don't want to look at obstacles. These are not obstacles that I want to focus on. I'm aware of them. I've seen them. If I have still taken the choice to sort of hit in this zone, like I said, you always have the option of playing a different zone. So to move back, you first want to ask yourself this question: do I want to play in this zone? Chances are that you don't want to play in this zone, but there are some times in some golf courses where, let's say, there's water throughout on one side. So I mean, this is something that's going to be playing for me no matter what. I'll still, if I, let's say, assume that this whole line is water, I still want to hit into the fattest zone that is there. Now, assuming this is the fattest zone and this is the fattest zone that I have to play, then this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to split the fairway. I know what my stock shot is. My stock shot is slight draw, so I'm going to stand slightly right and I'm going to play for that. I hope that answers your question. And if you have some more, please shoot.
There's one more question.
Yeah.
Please help me with the practice schedule to improve my close range game.
Close range?
Game.
Close range game. So the question would be like, do you have contact issue or do you have just like you have speed control issues? So let's say you have contact issue, then again I would say have maybe meet your coach over there. But let's assume that you have something called like speed control issues. There are lots of things that you can do. So some of the drills that I do with my students is one is we just put like a little hula hoop onto the green, and that is for the player to understand what the landing zone is, and you can start making it smaller and smaller and smaller. With the pros, it starts getting even smaller. But you tell yourself, okay, for this shot, this is what my landing zone is. The player identifies what the landing zone is going to be for that shot. They put the hula hoop there and they start chipping into that. So their focus is just on landing the ball in that zone. That's one. Two is um, you can sort of just take two shafts. You can put them up to, let's say, on hole high, and you can put it, let's say, 3 feet past the hole. And you can start chipping into that zone. You want to ensure that all the golf balls stop in that zone. Then we do something is that once we finish practice around chipping, we create a circuit. So make like an 18-hole circuit, and they have to finish chipping putting over there. So I mean, every day we do scoring basis that. So there are lots of small drills that you can do that will help you improve your execution of short game much better.
All right, ma'am. We don't have any more questions regarding this topic.
Okay.
So,
So
Okay, ma'am, we have one last question. How to get the sweet spot on the club all the times if there is any drill? I think he is asking related to course management.
sorry, say that again.
How to get the sweet spot on the club all the times? Is there any drill?
Well, there are lots of drills. I mean, you need to first and foremost obviously work on your golf swing. I don't know why you're missing sweet spot. I mean, the chances there could be like n number of reasons why you're missing the sweet spot. Again, I would literally say that please go meet your coach, your local coach out there, your senior coach if you have any senior coach around you, and ask them why is it that you're having contact issues. Contact issues a lot of times can also happen because you're focusing on too many other things. um, it is not as difficult to make contact. Like if you were to give someone anything else, let's say remove them from golf and I give someone anything else and ask them to hit it, hit, let's say, something with, let's say, put a nail up and you ask someone to hit with a hammer, they'll be pretty close to making good contact pretty soon. I know the golf swing is a much longer action. It is more complex than that, but focusing on contact is paramount, and you cannot focus on direction or distance. You don't first have contact in place. Once you have better repeatable contact, it's going to help you overall. There isn't one set formula how to improve your contact. You'll have to see what you're doing in your golf swing. Maybe it's something like this: your setup is off, or it could be as simple as giving you a few drills to do to sort of start off small and build it up accordingly. So yeah, I'm sorry, I can't give you like a one size fits all solution to that problem. But I'm happy to have a look at your golf swing again. So if you want to send it out to me, please do.
all right, ma'am. We have one last question, and then we are going to end this session. Uh, how to improve score from 76 with course management?
So maybe you can start off with filling your table out, and having a look as to which side are you missing the fairways. It's quite possible that if you're missing them one particular side, it may be just something as simple as you understanding which side you need to, where you need to aim for that. Also, like pin positions. You want to be careful about what kind of pin positions and where you are aligning yourself to be. I'm telling you, I have a pro who's came with a similar problem, and he can knocked off about 2-3 shots per round because that was how much he was missing it by. And giving explaining it to you a little more detail is that, again, taking the same example, let's say you're here and you miss it into this bunker. What happens is it's like a short-sighted bunker shot. So that means it's not the easiest bunker shot to hit, where you don't have a lot of green to play with and you short-sighted yourself. So he, in a round, let's say if there were 4 pin positions like this, he was missing about, let's say, 3 of them just because he was planning it badly, not because of really bad execution. So maybe on one occasion it was bad execution, on 2 occasions it was because of, let's say, wind, and he just said that, okay, I'm a draw player, I want to stand further right. So he was literally standing here and the wind didn't bring it in, or it didn't, have as much effect, and he landed up in the bunker. And then having his short-sightedness from this bunker put him in a place where he, didn't make some up and downs. So on an average, he was like, let's say, he could potentially go as bad as like losing 4 shots around, or on a normal day he might, let's say, lose 1 or 2 shots. That's something you might want to look at. Ask yourself, how many greens are you hitting? You want to increase that number as much as you can. And even if you're not, you definitely don't want to put yourself in. You shouldn't. It's okay to hit a bad shot. Everyone does that. It happens. The best of the best in the world do that. You've seen all the good players out there hit shots from the trees. Hit water hazards. You've seen everyone do that. What you can't do is you can't have bad planning, because that's easy. Standing away from the ball, it's got nothing to do with hitting a golf ball. It's just got to do with planning. You must ensure that you plan better. After that, if you not been able to execute it properly, that's fine. You can forgive yourself for that. But you definitely, it's going to hurt you more that if you just didn't plan for it well enough. Where you could have easily been on the green, but because you didn't cater for it, you didn't plan for it well, but you're in the bunker instead. That will hurt you and it'll hurt your score as well. So that would be my advice for you. From 76, if you want to come down a little lower, just start seeing it. You're already a good player because you're already shooting like low single handicapper. So that means you probably a little bit of planning will help you shave off anything in 1 to 2 shots, I would say, around, and that's pretty big.
All right, ma'am. We are going to end the session now.
Awesome.
We don't have any more questions.
Okay, thank you to you guys, to the Pro Touch team, to the CFL team, to Inderjeet and Sia and to the team. Thank you so much, and thank you for all of you for attending. Of course, none of it would be fun without you guys.